For more on this, let's speak to human rights activist and anti-ISIL campaigner Mesa Gifford. He joins me here in the studio. Also to note that you fought against ISIL between 2014 and 2017 as a volunteer. I just wanted to ask you, with Pence talking about the ISIL being down to the last mile of territory, how difficult will it be to get that last mile, in your experience of dealing with it?
Well, the Islamic State has been condensed, really, over the past 3 years. They're desperate. There's nowhere else for them to run. So I wouldn't underestimate them just yet. I expect a few more casualties from the coalition side. But the end of the so-called caliphate is approaching. So the next steps, or the future of Syria, is going to be decided soon.
And I mean, how organised are they? So even if they're defeated, presumably they have the power to set up sleeper cells. That seems to be the worry. Is that a kind of an organised effort, or? Well,
there's been a plan in the works for a while now. I mean, ISIS has established sleeper cells all over the areas that it's held in the past. It's going to be one of the greatest challenges of the post-conflict phase, and it will actually be a real threat to peace. ISIS will try and undermine the coalition and the rest of the world at every opportunity.
And just to go back to their kind of operations in Syria, we saw when they left Iraq that they'd kind of booby-trapped lots of places, lots of improvised explosive devices left behind to make places almost uninhabitable. Have they been doing the similar thing in Syria?
Yes, well, in Raqqa alone, there were thousands of IEDs. I was there for 6 months, fighting alongside the SDF. And in fact, many of the casualties that the Kurds suffered were because of IEDs. And the legacy of that is going to blight the civilian population for a long time to come. So there's a number of challenges in the future.
And what about the ideology? I mean, we had the head of the UK Security Service also at the same Munich conference warning against triumphalism and talking about, you can blunt the sharp end of the terrorist group with military, but you can't kill an idea. Is that one of the problems that you...
Yeah, well, my great fear at the moment is Donald Trump is very much a short-term politician. He's very eager, actually, to get low-hanging fruit. He wants to declare victory for his political support base. So I want him to understand, and the American government to understand, that the fight against ISIS is a long-term commitment. America, Britain, the rest of the world needs to pump this country with a huge amount of financial aid to make people feel liberated. And that's the only way, really, we can defeat ISIS in the long term.
What was your impression of the people who fought for ISIL? I mean, what kind of draws them to that world and that ideology?
Well, there's two types of fighter, I suppose. The foreign fighter is by far the most fanatic. They have got a lot to lose if they're captured. They are so committed that they've left home thousands of miles away to go all the way to fight for a terrorist group. The locals are a mixture. Some have willingly joined, but many more are just ordinary people caught up in the violence, forced to fight for ISIS. And actually, appealing to them, reintegrating them into society is something that, again, the coalition is going to have a challenge with.
And in terms of kind of fighting the ideology, what kind of methods at the moment do you think are successful? Is there anything that works in dealing with this?
Well, I think education is key. Britain and America need to make people feel liberated. They need to make people feel like their children have a future in Syria. Education, not only for adults but for children, will sort of ease that transition. But also people need jobs as well. So there's a lot of problems that are going to rear their ugly head quite soon, and I hope Donald Trump is ready for it.
Just briefly on that, feeling liberated, what do you mean by that?
Feeling liberated in the sense that Syria has suffered so terribly over the past few years. People have seen their homes destroyed, communities wiped out. They've had rhetoric, evil rhetoric from many different sides whispered into their ear. And I want to see Syrian society come together in a process of, state building a new democracy, a decentralized democracy. And that will involve not only effort by the Syrian people, but the whole world, really.
Mesa Gifford, thank you very much for your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.